Hey lovelies, it's Kate. Welcome back to another Sims 4 speed build. It's time for a gigantic mega mansion. I built this one on a 64 by 64 lot in Hanford on Bagley, and I started off by building a circle. I manipulated the terrain, and my idea was to have a circle in the center, and then I wanted to have a wonderful driveway leading up to the circle. And as always, most of the time, I decided to use a rock, a base game rock, to have a guideline. And you saw how I manipulated the terrain first, and I then sized up the rock so it would match the size of the circle that I had created using the terrain tools. And I then used this base game debug column, which I sized up a bit, and then I placed lots of them all around the rock. And I'm using Alt on my keyboard and the left mouse button to rotate objects freely, and of course the move objects cheat, and this way I created a perfect circle. I then just moved it into the correct position using tool, and I then filled in the area in the center using a good old foundation. So I just picked up lots of floor pieces, and I always do it this way because when you are dragging a floor piece, you are moving the objects right next to it, in this case all these columns. So in a case like this, I always place so many individual floor pieces. And then I decorated the driveway. I had used more columns to create the driveway, and I just wanted to have this really polished, beautiful look, so I just placed tons of them. I did the same thing, I just rotated each one individually. I didn't want to include the whole process in the video because it's literally the same as for the circle that I had created. I then used a platform piece, and I placed the platform piece in the center, and I wanted to have an area where I could place lots of bushes and trees. So I wanted to have this very well-maintained, beautiful look, like a really proper, beautiful mansion. But then I also wanted to have just a bit of green in here. Just, you can see it here, just a bit random, so it looks more natural in some places. And the fence was acting a bit weird at first. This is why I had to pick up the rounded foundation or platform and had to place it in the same spot again. Here I'm using a base game hatch, and I'm using the same method that I had used for all these columns. Once again, I'm using Alt on my keyboard and my left mouse button to rotate all these pieces individually, and I'm just placing them all around the fence so it just looks more detailed and nicely decorated. And here at this point I have my driveway, a gigantic circle, and I then finally started to work on the house, as you can see here. So I was going for a really fabulous mega mansion. I wanted this to be totally over the top, and I felt like it's time to create a wonderful mansion once again. Not like just any big build, but a proper mansion, because this is what this channel is about most of the time. So I really wanted to go all out. I wanted to add as many details as possible. I wanted this to be super over the top, and I had so much fun creating this, and I hope that you have been waiting for another mega mansion because it's finally here. And I used these beautiful columns, and this object at the top, this pedestal, is from the vampires pack, and I was really lucky, was kind of just glitching into my platform piece, and I was able to create this decorative platform or pedestal. So I just used a 1 tile wide platform and the object from the vampires pack. I then decided to place a lamp on top, so if you want to create something like this, it's really simple and it looks really stunning. And I then just expanded the build, so this was once again one of those builds where I'm just adding more and more to a build step by step to make it look good. Also, I watched a couple of episodes of Queen of Versailles Reigns Again. Someone recommended it in the comments. I don't remember who, but thank you so much. So for anyone who has no idea, there's a documentary which came out in 2012, and I watched it back then, and I was super obsessed. It's one of the coolest documentaries, and if you're into some weird stuff, that documentary just gets weirder and weirder in some way. It's really interesting to watch, and I've really enjoyed the documentary back then and the whole backstory. And I have now watched, I think, 2 episodes of the new show. So basically, without giving any spoilers, but it's about the biggest single family home in the US, and they started to build the whole thing 20 years ago, and it's still not done. And the new show just kind of shows the progress, and it's so over the top. It's just like really interesting to watch. Like, I feel like this house is so obnoxiously gigantic and tacky, and I feel like that some of you and some townies probably feel this way when they see my mansions, but it's like really weird to see a house like this in real life. It's like so tacky and weird, and the whole thing is like super interesting. And I can just totally recommend it. Like, I can totally recommend to watch the documentary first and then to watch the TV show. And it's like really interesting. Let me know in the comments down below if you've watched it or if you've watched the documentary and if you like it. And I feel like it's a bit weird. Like, not as weird as Tiger King, for example, but there are some really weird and interesting vibes, and it's like absolutely like over the top. Like, there's one peacock window which is worth 100K and stuff like this, and it's like absolutely astounding and really interesting. I mean, you know that I'm really into Real Housewives of Beverly Hills and this type of stuff. I really love to take a look at some real life mansions in TV shows. I think it's very interesting, and there's a reason why I'm building all these mansions in this game. Like, it just fascinates me. But this house is just something else, and you just have to check out the documentary and the show, and also like the family. They are like really special characters, you could say. It's like really, it's just wow. And here I have expanded the build, and I just made it bigger on the left side. There's a beautiful chimney, and this area will just connect to the garden part. Like, there are technically multiple garden sections. Like, there will be one on the left side, there will be a beautiful pool, and then there will be a guest house, which I think is super important for a wonderful mansion. I think it's really cool to have a guest house. I mean, any sim could just live in the guest house, like depending on the family size, depending on who moves in, but you could also use the guest house for a butler, for example. And I just placed it on the right side. You already saw a glimpse of the build at the beginning. But this area, I'm going to build a pool in front of this area, and I wanted this to be like really cool, so the Sims could hang out on the outside. They could hang out in front of a fireplace that I'm going to build in a minute, and they can also hang out in the pool, just all kinds of different things. And I really enjoyed the floor that I'm using here. I don't remember to which pack it belongs. It might actually be cottage living, and I mean, I'm building this in Hanford on Beckley, which is also like it belongs to cottage living. And also I'm like so excited to see the new world when we get the new expansion pack. I'm just really excited to see if it looks like really interesting or not. I'm just wondering if it will be quite basic. Like, for example, the world from Discovery University felt really like basic to me, like not in a bad way, but there wasn't like a specific theme around it. Like when you have cottage living, for example, it's about cottages and the whole aesthetic. So it's like really dreamy, almost like a fairy tale, very scenic, really beautiful, but it's just a school pack. So I'm just really excited to see what the world is going to look like. I hope we will get some bigger lots, because you know that I need them. And I don't know, it's like super weird, but I sometimes forget that we have this 64 by 64 lot here, like in this world. And also for the longest time, I had no idea that there's one in the jungle adventure world, Salvadorada. Is it called Salvadorada? I don't know, I always forget. But I like had no idea that there's like a 64 by 64 lot. And I don't think that I've ever built on the lot. Not that I remember. I don't know. I've built so many houses. I don't even know what's going on anymore. But maybe I should do this. And it could be really interesting to build something in this really specific style. Just let me know if you have any requests, any ideas. Let me know what's going on, what you want to see. I'm always so excited to hear from you. And yeah, just leave a comment down below. And these planting pots of these plants, I think these are from the base game actually, or maybe they're from Get Together, I'm not sure, but there's definitely also a base game version. And it just appeared one day. I don't know if it was added in a base game update or if I just always missed it. Like, so weird. Sometimes some object is popping up and I'm like, what is this? Like, there's always something new to discover. It doesn't matter for how long you've been building, how many builds you've created, there's always a new random object, which kind of surprises you. There's like so much going on in build mode. And here I'm expanding the build on the right side, and I just wanted to have a bit more terrain involved because I felt like the whole driveway thing looked so cool and so eye-catching that I wanted to use more terrain. You can see that the whole house is sitting on a quite high foundation. I had to do it this way because of the whole elevation, because of the driveway leading up to the house, and I then just figured that it would be super cool to have more terrain on the right side, so I just raised it and I created another slope. The way I usually do it is I lay out the shape and I'm using the tool which kind of flattens the terrain, and most of the time I'm just laying out the shape like this, and then I just use the tool which is smoothing out the terrain, and this is like the most simple way to do this. And here I'm placing the flat base game bush. It's part of the base game. I'm just holding down shift here because when you hold down shift you instantly duplicate an object, so you don't have to click on the bush in the menu over and over again. So you just hold down shift and you place an object over and over again. And I'm like so used to it, no matter what I'm placing, like my finger is always on the shift and alt button. It's like second nature at this point because I'm always rotating stuff or duplicating stuff. And yeah, just placed lots of these bushes to hide the slope to make it look really beautiful. And I then started to add more foundation pieces to this area here. This will be the guest house. I almost forgot about this. Like, I built the guest house and then furnished the whole thing, like the house, and I was like, wait, I forgot about the guest house, and then I furnished the guest house. This also sometimes happens when I'm building like a random home gym in some area or a basement. Like when I have a really small basement area. I remember when I was furnishing, I think the Millionaire Mansion, which is gigantic. I think it has 12 bedrooms or something, and it was such a big project. And I think I forgot like one whole level when I was pretty much done, and I remembered that I had added a basement or something, just like, I think it was this build, maybe another build, and then I was like, okay, here we go, a couple of more hours to go. And furnishing is always fun, but sometimes a bit tedious, especially when you have like a big build. I feel like when you have a smaller build, I don't know if you feel the same way, but when you have a smaller build, it's like, okay, I'm using like I'm just furnishing this, having a good time. But when you have a gigantic mansion, it's like, okay, here we go. This is the 5th bedroom, and then the next one, and it just doesn't stop. And how many bedrooms can one person build until they are a bit bored, like in one build? So I'm always happy when I'm like kind of done, when I have these gigantic mansions. Building the kitchen, the living room, these rooms are always really exciting, but bedrooms can feel quite repetitive. I feel like even if you're using different styles, because at some point you're like, I don't want to furnish more bedrooms. But I mean, here this build has like 4 bedrooms, so it wasn't bad at all. But when you think of some really big mansions, I don't know, let me know in the comments down below, what's the biggest house that you've ever built? Like, how many bedrooms does it have? Or maybe it doesn't even have any bedrooms, maybe it's a community lot. Like, just let me know, what was your biggest project, how long did it take you to finish the build, and just let me know if you like to work on bigger projects or if you just like to watch big mansions. For me, it's like I'm fascinated by tiny builds. Like, I really appreciate the work that builders put into tiny builds, because I feel like it's a specific skill set. Whenever I'm working on a tiny build, I have no idea what to do. I think it's super hard to make every single object just functional and to squeeze all these objects in there. And then you also have to clutter a bit. I feel like tiny builds are most of the time a bit cluttered, so it looks like cute and cozy, and then I don't know where to place the clutter because I'm already running out of space and everything is kind of blocking my Sims pass. I really enjoy to watch tiny builds and to just see the whole process, and I think it's really stunning, but I just have such a hard time building them. So it's something that I enjoy watching, but I can't really do it. Like, this is still hard after all these years. It's still difficult for me. But I'm going to give you, for example, the amazing Tonya. She's just so talented, and she will always be the queen of tiny builds to me. Like, she's the best, and she's such a huge inspiration. And whenever I'm thinking of tiny builds, I have to think of Miss Griffey. She's just the best and also so kind. She's just really amazing. So just type in Miss Griffey into YouTube and you will find her. Also on Twitter, she does amazing things, and she actually had the honor of building for the new pack. She's just so talented, and I'm so happy for her that she had the chance to build for the upcoming pack, and this is just really, really exciting. I also collabed with her like years ago, and she's just so sweet. Like, I had the best time, and it's always really exciting to get to know another builder, another creator, and she's just so nice. This is one of the bedrooms, and I was going for, like, in general, for a bit of a Mediterranean vibe or something. I mean, the outside isn't too Mediterranean. There is a bit of a influence, but it's not like one of those proper Mediterranean mansions that I have built in the past. But there is some influence when it comes to the exterior, and the inside, like the interior, I just wanted it to be very cozy, very Mediterranean. I really wanted this to be super inviting, and I tried to have some type of custom dresser walk-in closet situation for the big bedroom. There are 4 bathrooms in total, so there are enough bathrooms, but also enough bedrooms, because sometimes people were like, okay, your mansions are so big, but the bedrooms aren't. So I really tried to make them also a bit more spacious. I want to have this really gigantic master bedroom. I feel like it's really, really big. And then there are 2 more, which are like essentially kids' rooms. And I placed 2 beds in each kids' room. So essentially, you have 1 master bedroom, which has space for 2 Sims. Then you have 4 beds for kids, like 2 beds per kids' room. And then you also have the bed in the guest house. So there's enough space for lots of Sims in this lot, so you can let a big Sim family move in. I wanted this to be really luxurious, but I also wanted there to be a focus on a family mansion type of vibe, because let's be real, The Sims is most of the time about having a family, building a family, having a legacy. I mean, not always, but like most of the time when it comes to a big house, you want to use it some way. So this is not a bachelor pad. This is a really fancy family mansion. And this here's the guest house. Maybe my favorite interior of all rooms here in this house. For some reason, it just really worked out. Maybe because it's smaller. But not too small, because as I said, really hard time furnishing really small rooms or houses, but it looks cozy because it's not too big. Like, the fireplace is almost right in front of the bed and everything. And yeah, this is like a really simple guest house. And this is it. This video is slowly coming to an end. You can here see lots of screenshots, and you can grab this build from the gallery. It is CC free and unmodded, so you can just grab it from the gallery no matter if you're on PC or on console. And you can also grab the trade files from my Patreon. And speaking of which, it's time to thank my wonderful Emerald Patreons and also my Emerald YouTube members. In case you had no idea, you can also support me on YouTube and become a member. And just thank you so much to anyone who supports me. A big thank you to Mehmet Ali Bariskan, Alice Juridi, Charlotte, Asia, Emma Barnes, Lisa Martin, Saturated Spark, Telena Lynn, Stephen, and Tina Turner. Thank you so much for your huge support. A big thank you to all my other Patreons and YouTube members. I love you all so much. Thank you to anyone who watches my videos. You are just the best. I love every single one of you out there, and I hope you will have a absolutely perfect day. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope I see you in the next video. Bye bye.